All right, so today we're going to climb a ladder that's about 500 years old. But this isn't a ladder made of wood or rope. No, it's made of pure reason. And it promises to be a guide to thinking more clearly. So let's get into it. Now, that beautiful line you're seeing, it's from the opening of a 16th century Arabic poem called Al-Salam al-Munarak, which translates to the adorned ladder. It sets up this really powerful metaphor right from the start. Think of your mind as the sky, and confusion, well, that's like a thick fog, a cloud of ignorance. The whole point is to find a way to rise above it.
But this is way more than just pretty poetry. I mean, at its core, this ancient text is tackling a question that feels incredibly modern, right? How do we think clearly in a world that is just overflowing with information and misinformation, and frankly, some pretty heated debates? How do we get our own thoughts in order so they make sense? Not just to other people, but, to ourselves.
Our journey up this ladder, it's got to start by understanding the problem this whole thing was written to solve in the first place. That fog of muddled thinking. So you have this scholar, Abdul Rahman al-Akhdari, and he looked around and saw that people really needed a tool, a kind of system to organize their thoughts. So he created this adorned ladder, not as some heavy, dense academic textbook, but as a short, poetic guide to the science of logic.
And the subject of this poem is something called mantiq, which is the Arabic word for logic. The text itself defines it as a tool, a set of rules that, if you follow them, actually protect your mind from making mistakes in your own thinking. It's kind of like a quality control system for your thoughts. But what's really fascinating is that back then, the very idea of studying logic was, well, it was controversial. You had some scholars who saw it as a dangerous tool, something that could lead people astray if they weren't ready for it. But then you had others, like the famous philosopher Al-Ghazali, who argued the complete opposite. He basically said that without a good grip on logic, you couldn't really trust anyone's knowledge. I mean, how could you be sure it was built on a solid foundation? So, how do we start building? How do we climb this ladder? Well, according to the text, it all starts with the two most basic building blocks of knowledge. You could call them the very bricks of reason. The first pillar is the sawr, or conception. This is super simple. It's just getting a single idea into your head. So think of the word justice. That's it. You're not saying it's good or bad, you're just thinking about it. Now, the second pillar is the sadiq, or judgment. This is where you actually make a claim. You connect that concept to something else. You make a statement that can be true or false, like saying, justice is a virtue. See the difference? Conception is the brick. Judgment is the act of putting that brick into a wall. So once you have your bricks, your concepts, and your judgments, you can start to actually build things. And the text gives us a blueprint for a structure that's solid, logical, and sound.
And that structure is called a qiyas, which is just the Arabic term for a syllogism. The text calls this the engine of reason, and that's a perfect description. It's like a simple, elegant machine. You put in two statements you already know are true, and it spits out a third, totally new truth that has to follow logically. Let's build one right now. The process starts with a broad, pretty accepted statement. This is our foundation. So, premise one, every virtue is to be praised. Okay, makes sense. Next up, we bring in a second premise. And notice how it connects to the first one. It takes a specific idea, justice, and it puts it right into that category we just set up, virtue. So, justice is a virtue. And because those first two premises are true, the conclusion becomes, well, unavoidable. Therefore, justice is to be praised. By just combining two known truths, we've created a new one that is logically certain. That is the engine of mantiq right there, chugging along. But here's the really cool part. This whole system wasn't just for philosophers trying to prove abstract things. The text makes it clear that these rules of reason apply to pretty much every single way we communicate with each other.
So the text lays out 5 different kinds of arguments. You've got demonstration. That's the airtight proof we just built with our syllogism. But you also have dialectic, which is the art of debating from beliefs you both share. There's rhetoric, persuading people using ideas that are already widely accepted. It even includes poetry, which uses imagination to get an emotional reaction. And of course, it includes sophistry, which is using deceptive or just plain wrong arguments.
The system sees and categorizes all of it, the good and the bad.
And that leads to maybe one of the most powerful ideas in the entire text. An argument can go wrong in two basic ways. It can fail because of its material, meaning your starting points, your premises, are just plain wrong. Or it can fail because of its form, meaning your structure is messed up, and your conclusion doesn't actually follow from your premises, even if they're true. A really solid argument has to have both good materials and good construction.
So we're left with this question, right? This ancient ladder was designed to lift the mind up out of the fog of ignorance and into the clear sky of the intellect. In our own age, an age of digital fog, of just endless information and nonstop debate, what can this thing still teach us? Well, maybe the most important skill we can learn is still how to build a simple, sound, and sturdy ladder of our own.